Most men are terrible at attracting women, not because they're ugly, not because they're broke, not because they're short or bold or lacking some magical quality that women require. They're terrible at it because they're making the same mistakes over and over, mistakes that seem logical, that feel right, that every movie and song and piece of conventional wisdom tells them to make, and those mistakes are killing their chances before they even start. Today, we're going to break down the biggest errors men make when trying to attract women. Not the surface-level stuff you've heard 1,000 times, but the deep psychological patterns that sabotage attraction at its root. If you've ever wondered why some guys seem to effortlessly attract women while you're doing everything right and getting nowhere, this is why. Let's start with the most fundamental mistake, believing that some external factor is preventing you from being attractive. I'm too short. I don't make enough money. I'm not good-looking enough. I don't have the right car, the right job, the right social status. These beliefs feel true because you can point to evidence. You've seen tall guys get attention. You've seen rich guys with beautiful women. You've connected dots that seem logical. But here's what you're missing. You're seeing correlation and assuming causation. Yes, some tall guys do well with women. So, do some short guys. Some rich guys attract women. So do some broke artists. The common factor isn't the external trait. It's something else entirely. 4. The men who succeed despite lacking the required traits don't believe they're limited by them. They don't walk into rooms feeling like they're at a disadvantage. They don't communicate insecurity through their body language, their voice, their energy. Your limiting beliefs aren't protecting you from rejection. They're causing it. When you believe you're not enough, you act like you're not enough. And women pick up on that energy immediately. The guy who's 5'6" and owns it completely is more attractive than the guy who's 6'2" and apologizes for existing. Height isn't the variable. Self-perception is. Every time you tell yourself, I can't attract her because of X, you're programming yourself to fail. You're giving yourself permission to not try, or to try half-heartedly, or to interpret every rejection as confirmation of your limiting belief. The first step to attracting women is recognizing that your limitations are stories you've told yourself, not facts about reality. I've watched short guys dominate rooms because they carried themselves like they belonged there. I've seen broke guys with beautiful girlfriends because they had charm, confidence, and genuine presence. I've seen conventionally unattractive men with women way out of their supposed league because they understood that attraction isn't a checklist, it's a feeling. And I've seen tall, wealthy, good-looking guys strike out constantly because they were insecure, needy, and communicated low value despite having every external advantage. Your beliefs create your reality more than your circumstances do. Change the beliefs first. Here's the mistake that kills more potential connections than any other. Chasing. Most men approach attraction as pursuit. They see a woman they want. They go after her. They text first. They plan dates. They push for commitment. They do the work of moving the relationship forward. This feels right. It feels masculine is what we're told to do. Go get what you want. Men are supposed to pursue. She wants to be chased. But here's the problem. Chasing fundamentally changes the dynamic in ways that work against you. When you chase, you communicate that you want her more than she wants you. You position yourself as the one seeking approval, which automatically positions her as the one granting it. You give her power she didn't earn, and put yourself in a position of supplication. More importantly, chasing puts your focus in exactly the wrong place. Instead of evaluating whether she's actually worth pursuing, you're trying to prove that you're worth accepting. Instead of noticing her flaws and red flags, you're hyper-focused on your own perceived inadequacies. The alternative isn't passivity. It's creating conditions where women pursue you. This doesn't mean sitting around waiting for women to approach. It means behaving in ways that generate interest rather than demanding it. It means being someone women want to pursue rather than being someone who pursues women. When she's doing some of the pursuing, texting first, sometimes suggesting plans, showing clear interest. The dynamic is healthier, and attraction is stronger. When you're doing all the work, you're already losing. Here's a practical way to think about it. In any healthy relationship, effort should be roughly balanced. If you're putting in 80% and she's putting in 20%, the dynamic is broken. Even if she goes along with it, her attraction will decline because you've communicated that you need her more than she needs you. Match her investment. If she texts you, text back, but don't send 3 more messages while waiting for her response. If she suggests meeting up, great, but don't become her entertainment coordinator. Mirror her level of effort. And if her effort is consistently low, that tells you everything you need to know. This is the practical version of the chasing problem. Communicating too much interest before it's been earned. You meet a woman, she's attractive, you're excited, and because you're excited, you show it. You compliment her immediately. You text back within seconds. You're available whenever she wants to meet. You tell her how much you like her before you really even know her. This feels honest. It feels authentic. I like her, so I'm showing her I like her. What's wrong with that? What's wrong is that it kills attraction. Attraction requires uncertainty. It requires a gap between does he like me and yes, he definitely likes me. When you close that gap immediately, you remove the tension that creates attraction. Think about it from her perspective. When a man is instantly, obviously, completely into her before knowing anything real about her, what does that communicate? It says his interest isn't based on who she is. It's based on how she looks. It says he's not selective. It says any attractive woman would get the same reaction. It says his interest is cheap, because it's given away so freely. Contrast that with a man who seems interested but not desperate, who engages but doesn't fawn, who makes her wonder if he really likes her, or if he's just being friendly. That uncertainty creates mental real estate. She thinks about him more. She tries harder to get a clear signal. She invests. The fix isn't pretending you're not interested. It's actually not being completely interested until you have reason to be. She's pretty great. But is she kind? Is she interesting? Is she someone you'd actually enjoy spending time with beyond the physical? Until you know those things, your interest should be genuine but incomplete. Practically, this means not complimenting her appearance in the first 5 minutes of meeting her. It means not texting her immediately after getting her number. It means not being available every single time she wants to hang out. It means letting some uncertainty exist. This isn't playing games. It's having genuine standards. If your interest is based only on looks, that's actually shallow interest that deserves to be questioned. If your interest is based on who she actually is, then you shouldn't be fully interested until you know who she actually is. Men make a critical error. They see an attractive woman and assume she's a prize worth pursuing. They haven't talked to her, don't know anything about her, but because she's beautiful, they've already decided she's valuable. This is backwards. Physical beauty is the minimum barrier for attraction. It tells you nothing about whether she's interesting, kind, emotionally stable, good in a relationship, or worth your time. It just tells you she won the genetic lottery or knows how to use makeup. When you treat beauty as if it equals value, you enter every interaction at a disadvantage. You're trying to win over someone whose only proven quality is appearance. You're competing for her approval instead of evaluating whether she deserves yours. The shift that changes everything. Start actually evaluating women beyond their looks. When you talk to an attractive woman, your internal frame shouldn't be, I hope she likes me. It should be, let's see if she's actually interesting. This isn't a trick or a tactic. It's genuine discernment. Beautiful women are everywhere. Beautiful women who are also kind, intelligent, emotionally healthy, and genuinely pleasant to be around. Much rarer. Your job is to figure out which one you're dealing with. When you adopt this frame, something interesting happens. You ask different questions. You pay attention to different things. You're not performing for her approval. You're gathering information. And that shift in energy is attractive because it communicates that you have standards, that your interest isn't automatic, that she needs to earn it. Here's what to actually look for beyond appearance. How does she treat people who can do nothing for her? Waiters, Uber drivers, people she'll never see again. How does she talk about her exes? Is everyone a villain in her story? Does she ask you questions? Or does she only talk about herself? Is she curious about the world? Or is her entire personality based on consumption, travel, food, Netflix? These questions matter because they reveal character. A beautiful woman with bad character will make your life miserable. An average-o-looking woman with good character might be the best thing that ever happened to you. If you're only evaluating appearance, you're missing 90% of what actually matters. Here's a pattern that sabotages men constantly. They become hyper-aware of their own flaws and project that awareness onto every interaction. They're worried about their receding hairline, so they assume every woman notices and judges it. They're insecure about their job, so they assume women are evaluating their career constantly. They're conscious of their weight, so they read disinterest into every interaction as confirmation that their body is the problem. Here's the truth. Everyone has flaws. Every single person, the guy who seems to have it all figured out, has insecurities you don't see. The woman you're intimidated by has parts of herself she hates. Attraction is not about being flawless. It's about not leading with your flaws. When you're preoccupied with your perceived deficiencies, you communicate insecurity. You compensate in awkward ways. You bring attention to things you probably wouldn't have noticed. You make your flaws the center of the interaction when they should be irrelevant. The fix isn't delusion. It's proportion. Yes, you're not perfect. Neither is she. Neither is anyone. The question isn't whether you have flaws, but whether you let those flaws define your self-perception and your behavior. Confident men have flaws and don't dwell on them. Insecure men have flaws and can't stop thinking about them. The flaws might be identical. The relationship to those flaws is what matters. Many men learn one technique for attracting women and apply it everywhere. They read some advice about being confident, so they act confident in every situation, whether it fits or not. They learn to be aloof, so they're aloof even when warmth would work better. Attraction is context dependent. What works at a nightclub doesn't work at a coffee shop. What works with a shy introvert doesn't work with an outgoing extrovert. What works with a 22-year-old doesn't work with a 35-year-old. The men who are genuinely good with women aren't running scripts. They're reading situations. They're adapting their energy to match what the context calls for. They're calibrated. This requires actually paying attention, noticing whether she's responding to playfulness or earnestness, recognizing when to push and when to pull back, feeling the energy of the interaction, and adjusting accordingly. It also requires having range. If you can only be one way, only confident, only funny, only serious, you're limited to women who respond to that one way. Developing flexibility in how you present yourself multiplies your options. The goal isn't to become a chameleon who has no real personality. It's to have a core identity while being able to adjust your expression of that identity based on what the situation calls for. For example, your core might be that you're confident and direct. In a loud bar, that means being bold, taking up space, leading interactions clearly. At a quiet bookstore, that same confidence expresses as calm self-assurance. You're not trying to be the center of attention, but you're completely comfortable in your own skin. Same core, different expression. The men who fail are the ones who only know how to be loud or only know how to be quiet. They're missing half of their potential range. Men spend way too much time worrying about the perfect thing to say, the perfect opener, the perfect compliment, the perfect response to her text. Here's what they don't realize. The words matter far less than the way you engage. You can say something completely ordinary and be attractive because of how you say it. the timing, the confidence, the eye contact, the energy behind it. You can also say something clever and kill attraction because you delivered it with nervous, approval-seeking energy. The structure of your interaction matters more than its content. Are you asking questions that invite interesting conversation, or are you interviewing her with boring logistics? Are you creating moments of connection and tension, or are you just exchanging information? Are you leading the conversation somewhere, or are you waiting for her to make it interesting? Here's a practical shift. Instead of complimenting her appearance, and which every guy does, and which communicates nothing except that you have eyes, ask her questions that actually reveal something about her, not where are you, from, and what do you do. Those are filler questions that show you're actually trying to understand who she is. Questions with a little edge. Questions that make her think instead of give rehearsed answers. What's something you believe that most people disagree with? What's the most spontaneous thing you've done recently? If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would bore you the most? Questions like these accomplish multiple things. They show you're not running the standard script. They give her a chance to be interesting, and they create actual conversation instead of polite exchange. The deeper principle here is that conversation should feel like tennis matches, not interviews. You're exchanging, not interrogating. You share something, she shares something. You challenge her a bit, she challenges back. There's play, there's tension, there's actual engagement. If you're asking all the questions, and she's giving short answers and never asking you anything, that's not a conversation. That's an audition, and you're the one auditioning. Flip the script. Make her earn your interest instead of begging for hers. Most men have no idea what it's like to be an attractive woman navigating the dating world. And because they don't understand her experience, they make mistakes that seem reasonable from their perspective, but are completely tone-deaf from hers. Here's her reality. She's approached constantly, not just at bars, everywhere. On the street, at the gym, in the grocery store, online. Men she's never met send her messages daily. Guys she barely knows profess their feelings. Every time she's friendly, someone interprets it as romantic interest. This sounds like a good problem to have until you think about what it actually means. It means she's developed defenses. She's heard every opener. She's bored by obvious approaches. She's suspicious of men who seem too eager. She can spot inauthentic interest immediately because she's seen it 1,000 times. When you approach her the same way every other guy does, leading with compliments, showing obvious interest, trying to impress her, you're just another entry in a long list of men doing the exact same thing. The men who stand out are the ones who don't fit the pattern, who engage without obvious agenda, who treat her like a person instead of a prize, who seem genuinely selective rather than desperate for any attractive woman's attention. Understanding her experience isn't about feeling sorry for her. It's about recognizing the competitive landscape you're operating in. If you want to stand out, you need to be different. And you can't be strategically different if you don't understand what same looks like. What does same look like? It's the guy who opens with, "You're beautiful." It's the guy who tries to impress her with his job or his car. It's the guy who laughs too hard at everything she says. It's the guy who's clearly nervous and trying to hide it. Is the guy who has nothing interesting going on and makes her the center of his universe immediately. Different means not leading with compliments about her appearance. Different means actually having an interesting life you can talk about. Different means being comfortable enough in your own skin that you don't need her validation. Different means treating her like a person you're genuinely curious about rather than a prize you're trying to win. In any negotiation, the person with the most power is the one who can walk away. Dating is no different. When you're not willing to walk away, when you need this particular woman to like you, when you have no other options, when you've decided she's the one before knowing if she's even a good fit, you have no leverage. You'll accept treatment you shouldn't accept. You'll chase when you should pull back. You'll compromise on things that matter because you're afraid of losing her. She can feel this. women have finely tuned radar for desperation. They know when a man has options and when he doesn't. They know when he's choosing them from abundance versus clinging from scarcity. The willingness to walk away isn't a manipulation tactic. It's genuine standards. It's recognizing that your time and attention have value, and you're not obligated to give them to anyone who doesn't reciprocate. If she's not responding to your text, walk away. If she's consistently flaky, walk away. If she's not showing the level of interest that justifies your investment, walk away. This requires having or developing options. Men who are desperate often are desperate because they've put all their eggs in one basket. They focused all their attention on one woman instead of building a life that naturally attracts multiple options. The man who can genuinely walk away is the man who has other possibilities, other interests. A full life that doesn't depend on any particular woman's validation. Building that life is the real work. The willingness to walk away is just the byproduct. Here's the paradox. The less you need any particular woman, the more attractive you become to all women. Neediness repels, abundance attracts. When you genuinely have options and a full life, you stop making decisions from scarcity. And that shift in energy is palpable. This doesn't mean being cold or uninterested. It means being genuinely selective. It means your interest being valuable because it's not given away indiscriminately. It means her knowing that you're choosing her specifically, not just accepting whoever says yes. Here's the final mistake, and it's the one that keeps all the others in place, not treating attraction as a skill that can be improved. Most men approach dating the same way at 30 that they did at 20. They make the same mistakes, get the same results, and conclude that they're just not good with women, rather than recognizing they haven't actually improved at anything. Attraction is learnable. Social skills are learnable. Reading situations, calibrating your approach, managing your own psychology. All of this can be developed through deliberate practice. But it requires treating your experiences as data, rather than just events. When an interaction goes well, why? What did you do differently? When an interaction fails, what went wrong? What could you have done better? Men who get good at attracting women usually went through a period of actively experimenting, trying different approaches, noting what worked and what didn't, pushing themselves into uncomfortable situations to expand their range. This sounds clinical, and in some ways it is. But the goal isn't to become a manipulative robot. It's to develop genuine skill so that your authentic self can actually come through. Most men's authentic selves are buried under layers of anxiety, bad habits, and social conditioning. Developing skill clears that away. Run experiments. Talk to women you're not necessarily interested in just to practice conversation. Notice what gets good responses and what doesn't. Pay attention to your own internal state and how it affects interactions. Treat this like any other skill you'd want to develop. Because that's what it is, a skill. And skills improve with deliberate practice, not with hoping things will magically get better. Look at all these mistakes, and you'll notice they share a common thread. They all come from a place of low value, believing you're limited by external factors. Low value, chasing instead of attracting. Low value, showing too much interest too fast. Low value, not evaluating her beyond looks. Low value, obsessing over your flaws. Low value, being unable to walk away. Low value. Every mistake signals to women that you don't think you're worth much and they believe you. The solution isn't to fake high value. It's to actually develop it. To become genuinely confident by building competence. To become genuinely selective by developing standards. To become genuinely interesting by living an interesting life. When you're actually high value, the tactics handle themselves. You don't show too much interest because you're genuinely evaluating whether she's worth your interest. You don't chase because you have options. You're willing to walk away because your life is full enough that losing one woman isn't catastrophic. The external techniques matter. They're useful shortcuts while you're developing. But the real work is internal. becoming someone who doesn't need techniques because his default behavior is already attractive. Here's the bottom line. The mistakes men make when attracting women aren't complicated. They're not mysterious. They're predictable patterns that come from not understanding how attraction actually works. Attraction isn't about being tall, rich, or handsome. It's about communicating value through your behavior. It's about creating the right dynamic where she's investing, not just you. It's about being selective rather than desperate. It's about understanding her experience and positioning yourself differently from every other guy. Most men will hear this and do nothing. They'll keep making the same mistakes, getting the same results, and blaming their height or their bank account or their face. The men who actually improve are the ones who take this seriously, who experiment, who pay attention, who treat attraction as a skill to develop rather than a lottery they've already lost. You can be in either category. The choice is yours.